The biblical story of humanity begins with a familiar origin point: a pristine garden, the first human, and the events of Eden. Just a few pages later, the narrative reaches its second major milestone: Noah, the Ark, and a catastrophic global flood. But between the early tragedies of Cain and Abel and the impending doom of Noah's era, there is a massive chronological void in the text. This diagram represents that void. On the far left, we have Adam. On the far right, Noah. To bridge this space, Genesis chapter 5 provides a highly structured 10-generation dataset. When we look closely, these records stop reading like a simple genealogy. They form a precise mathematical timeline charting the early centuries of human history. Looking at this timeline, the first generation sets a staggering baseline. Adam's life stretches out to 930 years. At year 130, the line branches to Seth, starting a second overlapping layer of data. Seth then fathers Enosh. The pattern locks into place, expanding forward. The original Hebrew text treats this data with a strict, repetitive formula. It states that a patriarch lived a certain number of years, fathered a son, lived additional centuries, and then, invariably, it concludes with the exact same phrase: and he died. Even with lifespans approaching a millennium, the text acts as a drumbeat. It systematically proves that the mortality introduced in Eden is fully active, claiming every generation one by one. Returning to the chart, the numbers hold steady. Generations 4, 5, and 6, Canaan, Mahalalel, and Jared, all record lifespans well over 8 centuries. But if we stop reading left to right and scan vertically, a clear visual pattern emerges. These generations are massively overlapping. Because these figures lived for hundreds of years after having children, the math reveals a reality entirely foreign to modern human experience. Adam actually lived long enough to overlap with his descendant Lamech, 9 generations down the line. Early humanity did not replace its elders every few decades. The populations accumulated. The ancient originators walked the earth at the exact same time as their distant descendants. This graph shows a distinct break in the data at the 7th generation. Enoch's timeline abruptly halts at 365 years. A literary formula breaks along with it. Enoch is the only figure who does not receive the standard "and he died" clause. Instead, the text states he walked with God. Directly following this anomaly is Methuselah. His timeline pushes further than anyone else, reaching a peak of 969 years. These two back-to-back records represent the extremes of this era. One shows a divine circumvention of mortality, while the very next pushes human physical endurance to its maximum limit. By the 9th generation, we reach Lamech, and the strict genealogical data pauses for a second time. Lamech stops to offer a prophecy over his newborn son. He names the child Noah, a word meaning comfort or rest. Lamech specifically states his hope that this boy will bring relief from the heavy labor required by the cursed ground. Back on the timeline, Noah lives 500 years. His line then splinters into 3 distinct branches: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Here, the dataset halts. Zooming out, the full shape emerges: a continuous, overlapping staircase of 10 generations spanning left to right. Genesis 5 functions as a highly engineered structural bridge. It carries the unbroken chain of humanity straight from its origins in Eden, directly to the threshold of the flood.